Everyone was asking a lot of questions. At the end of the day, none of those things matter. You are well prepared. Tell yourself that. Go into this exam very confident, and you'll understand that it's too much panic, which is leading to you guys kind of being scared. Acha, so I'm going to use this document. Now, again, the link for the Google Drive has already been shared on the Instagram page. And what you can do is you can download all the documents from there. So the summary writing documents, even the specimen answers for paper one, everything is already on that. So you can also download those and review those if you don't have them. So we look at the specimen answers. Now, this is from the specimen paper that they have submitted to us. We're going to focus today on command words and keywords and then how to approach the question, right? So if we look at the actual paper, the whole paper is 2 hours long. And we have 2 sections. So I'm going to take the 2 sections. The first one is this one, the comprehension and the use of language. So this is section 1. Sorry, my hand is shaking a little bit. You need to spend 1 hour on this section. And the second section is your summary and short response task. Again, it's 25 marks, so you spend an hour on this section as well. The comprehension task now, unfortunately, a lot of teachers, what they have done is they have thought that it would prepare you better if you used 0500 past papers. Do not do that for the comprehension. If you do want to, so suppose after the session you want extra help, what you should do is practice the 1, 1, 2, 3 past papers, comprehension and summary, because it's those skills that are being tested. It is at that level of language that is going to be tested. Okay, so Misbah Salim cannot hear me. Wait, let me just unmute her. Where is she? Oh. Ms. Sadaf, can you please write in the chat? She basically, wait.
Yeah, I'll ask her to rejoin.
She needs to rejoin and join with audio. She has no audio. So when we look at these 2 sections, we have an hour for each. It is a good idea to practice the past papers because what they've done is they've kind of changed the questions around. They're testing it in a different way. It is the same skill set. Problem with 0500 past papers is that the comprehension texts are shorter. They are different sort of comprehension texts. You won't get something similar. So text A is what comprehension the comprehension task is based on. And the use of language task is from the same exact text. You would have 1 text for both of these, and it will be approximately 900 words long. And this will always be something more narrative, fiction in nature, right? So it's a narrative text, and they're asking for short answers. Please do not write very, very long answers. And they're basically looking for 2 things: understanding explicit meaning and implicit meaning. That's it. In the use of language task, they're wondering if you can understand how writers achieve effects and influence readers. Now, this is a type of inference skill. It's not inference per se, but it is an inference skill. You have to look at what is being implied. What is the effect the writer is trying to create? So all these fancy words don't mean anything actually, right? So if you forget the fanciness of the words, it's very simple. These are questions. Anything related to R1 is they will be obviously in the text. All right. Then you've got the words, the questions here with implied meaning. So you have to use information from the text. When we were doing the other session, somebody asked me, can we write our own answers? Please don't in the comprehension. That's the purpose of the passage. The information is given to you. So whatever is obviously stated in the text, you have to find the implied idea within it. And here you have to look at how it influences you as a reader. Now, if you look at something simple, right? So for example, let's take the example of a movie. So what's the example of the movie that I can give you? So we see a sad movie, right? And when we look at the sad movie, we get sad, we cry. That is the effect that sadness has on us. All right. So you are the reader, you are the audience. It's looking for the effect on you. It doesn't mean that somebody would be crying in the movie necessarily. That's not what it means. It means that you as the reader should feel sad. So suppose somebody's crying in a movie, it's a really sad movie. Maybe the writer is trying to get you to feel sorry for them. We don't cry all the time. So let's take the example of Harry Potter. Voldemort dies at the end of Harry Potter. Sorry for the spoilers, kids who haven't watched it or read it. So Voldemort dies. He's a villain. What is the writer's effect here? Are we supposed to cry, oh no, Voldemort's dead? No, we don't do that. What do? We are happy. Voldemort's dead. There's a sense of relief. Finally, Harry won. It's over, right? So that is the effect. So do not assume if it's a sad thing that would normally death would evoke, like a negative emotion, sadness, empathy, sympathy. You're not supposed to necessarily feel that. So the writer's effect could probably be a little bit different to what is being said. So you need to read the text very, very carefully. Now, my suggestion is we'll go over this section when I come to the summary task. So we're looking at the first question. Now, this is an entire text. My suggestion is you need to read the passage twice, right? 2 times minimum for greater understanding. What I do tell my students is always go to the question section first. Why? I don't know. I always find it easier when I read the questions, because when you read the questions without reading the text, you get a lot of familiarity of what the text is about, what sort of questions are there. Just read the questions in general. Don't analyze the questions at this point. And then read the text. So the first time you're going to do is one complete reading. And don't waste your time kind of thinking about every single thing. So overall effect, we need you to read the text overall once. The second time when you read it, right, it's not going to be straight after. So you read the questions, you get a sort of idea, what is it that you are going to answer questions on. Read the text for the complete meaning. The second reading will be done in bits. So now you're going to go to the section of question 1. Read each question and then go and find the answer. The general rule is if it's question 1, it's going to be from somewhere at the top of the text. So the answer, even though it says line 2, we know should be somewhere here, right? Over here. So we look at the question, we underline the keywords. Now, in what way is one of our keywords? In what way? So it means how, right? Is the structure. So the answer is going to be focused on the structure of the trees. The opposite of most trees. So this phrase, as we can tell, with the speech marks is taken out of, sorry, I shouldn't be calling them speech marks. The quotation marks this quote is taken out of the text. They've given you the line number where the quote can be found. The key idea is what is the structure? What does it suggest? Like the structure is opposite of most trees, right? So we go to line 2, right? Now, please remember, at the top of the text, this section is usually a description of the passage. Always look at the line numbers to guide you. So if this is line 5, then this is line 4, this is line 3, and this is line 2. So in line 2, we see the phrase, the opposite of most trees. So the structure is this way because it's opposite to trees. And what does it tell you about trees? Whose branches get smaller towards the top. So now this child has written something, the branches get bigger towards the top. This is a complete opposite. So for other trees, branches get smaller. What is the opposite to this? The branches will get bigger to the top. Please note that the examiner has given them 1 mark out of 1. And there is no complete sentence, so grammar, punctuation, spelling will not be docked at any point in this paper. So what sometimes, now if you look at the marking scheme, it also says another answer here is that the branches are not smaller at the top or something. Okay? So you see all of these things. Wait, it will be clearer if I show you the marking scheme actually. Because the marking scheme gives a multiple sorts of answers. So over here, let's go through this. So here, you can write the branches do not get smaller, right? So it's the opposite. You don't need to write that they get larger. You can write they don't get smaller at the top. All right. Now here they're also saying that they get more massive or they get more complicated, right? So they have given multiple answers. Isn't it, Rahman, you will not be able to copy the text and put it into the answer here because the text says, if you look at the text, it says that branches get smaller towards the top. That is not the case here. You have to discuss the opposite view. So you have to write, they do not get smaller, right? So you cannot write or copy the text here. If you do, your answer will essentially be wrong. Okay? The key word here being opposite. Now, using your own words question. Here, you have to find your own words for and explain the meaning of the words. Now, they will give you a phrase. They will tell you where it is in the text. And they will tell you the marks. So if it's 2 marks, that means you need to identify 2 keywords in this phrase. So the keywords here are ancient and giant. Okay, sorry. Ibrahim, if generally the answer is directly written in the text, you can write it word for word, yes. In a using your own words question, you cannot do that. All right, you cannot do it for a using your own words question. So here the keywords are ancient and giant, right? So it's the oldest, which is a word which means ancient, and tallest, which means giant. You don't need to change forest, but one of my other students said, Miss, what if for, just for being on the safe side, we change forest? I said, fine, you can write jungle, you can write wood, whatever you want to, but that's not where you're getting the marks. Now, if you notice, what they've done here is the child has also explained further. This is not necessary. The child got the mark when the examiner read oldest and tallest. It's a huge tree that has been there for hundreds or thousands of years. It's literally the same thing as what's being said here. This is also correct. This is also correct, but you're not going to get extra marks. Oops, I don't know what's happening. Sorry, my laptop went wonky. So you're not getting more marks for writing the explanation. You're getting your marks for the keywords. Now, in this sort of question, Ibrahim and Izin, this is what you were asking. So you give 2 features. Just give those 2 features that are written. Of what? Of the enormous trunk? But what features? Specific features that would make it difficult to begin to climb. So we're not looking at features that are found later, and they keep telling you the line numbers that you have to read. So what's going to make it difficult to begin to climb? So over here, we see that this child has only gotten 1 mark. But if I show you the marking scheme, it says soft and crumbly. It says no branches on its lower reaches, right? Over here, it says no branches on its lower reaches, and it says soft and crumbly. So why is the mark not there? Because the examiner didn't like this child? Can anyone tell me what's the problem in this question? If you can write it in the chat, that would be great. Where is this child losing their mark? Ibrahim, are you my Ibrahim? Ibrahim, sorry. Okay, Ibrahim, then you should know the answer to this. Okay. That's a lot of questions. All right. So, Alicia, Fahad, you said incomplete answer for second point. He didn't mention bark, isn't that is absolutely correct. And Sana Saad, you also said not pointing to what is soft. That's correct. Haris, trunk is not the answer. They're asking the features of the trunk. The word missing here, again, sorry for folks for writing it this way, is bark. SN, it's not about writing the whole sentence. It's about not specifying what is soft and crumbly. What is soft and crumbly? Are the branches soft and crumbly? Are the leaves soft and crumbly? What is soft and crumbly? Right? The bark of the trunk. So the bark is like the skin of the trunk. And the text clearly states the bark is soft and crumbly. So you have to write what is soft and crumbly. That is the problem here. Folks, can you just give me 1 second, please? All right. Apologies. So I hope so far so good, right? So then we've got these two details that show what. So again, it's a question. It's an explicit meaning question. All you're doing is identifying two details that show what? You need to show something that shows relentless speed. Not just any speed, it's relentless speed. So relentless speed means something that's very, very fast. And what is the speed related to? It's related to how quickly the trees can grow. Now, when we look at speed, I know you guys have done your math exams. Speed is related to time. And it is related to distance. So you need to, now if you don't use the exact measurements, do use the time details, right? So here, if you wrote can grow from a seed into a tree in 20 years, that's fine. Or it can grow 16 meters tall in 20 years, that's also fine. If you write that it can be 75 centimeters thick in less than 60 years, that's also fine. If you can say that the diameter becomes very thick within 60 years, that's also fine. Do mention one of these. So let's look at this. Because it is given in the text, so they're sort of expecting you to have the details. All right. If you look at the marking scheme, right? Sorry, folks, I'm coughing in the middle and I'm coughing a lot. I don't know why. I have a cough all of a sudden. So then we look at the next question. Explain what Mo is thinking when he looked again at the lowest branch of a smaller tree standing next to Nameless, right? So we are looking at a specific, again, a very specific question. And what is the question asking us? There's 1 mark, and this child is not getting the mark. Can anyone tell me why this child is not getting the mark? It's asking you to tell what Mo is thinking when he looked again at the lowest branch of a smaller tree standing next to nameless. So what exactly is it that he's that is wrong with this question? He's wondering about the tree. Doesn't that sound right? Why is this marked wrong? So yes, Shamir, it's too vague. And yes, Alicia, your answer is also correct. Basically, he's only, when you say he is wondering, you are kind of repeating the word thinking. Wondering and thinking are synonymous. So what you're doing when you're answering a question like this is you need to tell what he is thinking, right? So yes, Essen, you are also correct. It's not clearly specified. And yes, Asad, your answer is correct. The problem here is when we look at the keywords, it says you need to explain what Mo is thinking. So when he does something, what is his thought? And the answer the child has written is wondering about that tree. What is he wondering about that tree? So you need to have a specific detail here and you will get your answer. Now, when we look at this question is very, very controversial. These are very new style questions. How does Mo feel about trying to climb nameless? Now, the question is for 3 marks. It clearly has 2 parts. So this is 1 part, and this is the second part. You get 1 mark for writing his emotion. So he's excited about the idea, right? You will get your mark for identifying the feeling, okay? The next 2 marks are given when you give 2 details from the text. And the child has done it. They have written leaps onto the smaller tree, and it will only take 10 minutes to climb the smaller tree. Right? I'm so sorry about my, but I have to clear my throat because I don't know what's wrong with me. I've started falling sick since yesterday. So you can give 2 details. They can be references from the text. And later on in the next question, you'll see that you can use direct quotes as well. I would advise that you should give references, not direct quotes. Now, when we look at the next question, as a rule, questions which have 1 or 2, so they have subparts, are always related to the same thing. So here they're telling you a scenario. So Mo has discovered a problem which he had not seen when he was on the ground. They have given you the scenario. He's discovered a problem, and this is a problem he did not see when he was on the ground. So this is a problem he can see from the top. What is the problem? So if over here you write that, oh wait, there were no trees at the bottom of the tree. Again, you're looking at the wrong part of the text. So read the questions carefully. So this is the problem, and you need to solve the same problem. Please, okay, so here, Manal, you don't need to copy details exactly from the text. That's what I'm saying. You don't need to quote the details exactly. You can give a reference. right? So what you need to do is you need to give a reference. That's also fine. Ehsan Basit, again, you can put in an actual dialogue or you can just write it in your own words. So for example, here, the person has actually written it in their own words, right? They haven't used actual quotes from the text. This is an example, Alicia, of a reference where he leapt onto the smaller tree, which took him only 10 minutes to climb, right? Both of these, the way that you put it in your own words is going to be a reference. I advise you to put in references rather than direct quotes, because the problem that I identified with a couple of students who put in direct quotes was you're putting in too many, like too much additional information in the quotes. So get the main points out and just write it in your own words. But if you write the details as they are, that's also correct. So again, solution to the same problem, and you have got your 2 marks. So this is another question with the same sort of wording. So you have to explain using your own words different feelings, but this time the feelings belong to Marwood and his feelings about Mo climbing Nameless. Because it specifically says feelings, and that's a plural word, feelings, you need to find more than one. How many do you need to find to get that mark? Give 3 details from anywhere in the text to support your answer. So find 3 feelings with their 3 details. So here, what do? The child writes, at first, Marwood can't believe Mo is going to do it. So the feeling of disbelief. And then the child gives the direct quote. In line 20, he says, you aren't going to climb it, are you? So he asks this question, and this is a direct lift from the text. 2 other feelings the child identifies are he's angry, he is worried. And then he says, then it goes ahead and says, because Mo is going to get hurt. When he shouts, he can't watch. This is another detail. And his words. So there's another direct quote. I really don't think that's very smart. So you've got 3 feelings and 3 correlating details explaining them. If you notice it, it's very clear now. You can use direct quotes from the text and you can give references. He's worried that Mo's going to get hurt. You can mention line numbers, Manal, yes, if you want, but the child here has mentioned the line number at the end. In this quote, they haven't mentioned the line number, right? So, and again, you're quoting, you're not writing the dialogue, right? So you're just taking quotes from the text. Don't write it the way dialogue is written. So you can always just say that, you know, Marwood is shocked. He cannot believe Mo is going to do it when he asks him a question about, are you going to climb the tree, right? So that's a reference, or you can use the direct line. All right. So this is a very high quality paper. The child has gotten 14 out of 16 in question 1. Any questions for question 1 at this point? Please do ask. Yes, Alicia. So Alicia, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself, please.
Miss, I wanted to ask that if there's a scenario where we have to quote the text, however, the relevant sentence has many extra things discussed. So can we just pick few relevant words from that sentence rather than writing the whole sentence?
Okay, so there will, Alicia, never be a scenario where you have to quote, okay? So they're asking you to choose details from the text, right? So the specific question, sorry, the specific thing they ask you is details from the text, right? They constantly say the same thing, give 2 details. There's no scenario where you have to do it, but if you choose to do it, sorry, I'm an English teacher. We're very weird when it comes to the words, right? I'm sure this is what you meant, but if you want to choose it, so for example here, this sentence, I really don't think that's very smart. You can say that he doesn't think that Mo is being very smart. So you can just use this section as well. You don't have to use the entire thing. You can use specific quotes as well, right? So you don't have to write the entire sentence. You can use just a part of the quote, as long as you've got a correlating detail. I hope that answers your question. All right. So, okay. Now, where is it? So again, we come to the same question, but we're now coming to a specimen answer, which is around the mid-range, right? Same question one. Notice how the child writes a huge and ancient tree does not replace the A word ancient, so the child gets 1 out of 2. So remember, the first child, when I showed you their answer, they had written a further explanation, which I told you was not required, which is further proved here. So just for writing huge, which